Welcome back, this is Maddie. Today I'm going to talk about 4 patterns that I decided to work on this last couple weeks. The first pattern is Chunky Chicken. So this is the first chunky chicken I've made. I found this online pattern by Inspired by James. It's a free pattern, so you can go there and check them out later. I used a Premier Chenille yarn and a 6mm hook on this one, and I think the hook, I think the hook was a bit too bigger than it should be. As you can see, there's some gaps in the stitches. It was either that or my tension was too loose. I used safety eyes for this one and burlap blanket yarn for the comb and the beak. Even though I can see some of the gaps between the stitches, I really enjoy this chicken. Then the second time I tried the same pattern, I used a brown yarn, and this is the result. It's also a chenille yarn by Premier Brands, and somehow it seems like this turned out a bit bigger than the white one. I usually don't use stitch markers, but maybe I should start using them, because comparing to the white one, let me bring it over here, you can see the brown one, it's a bit bigger. I think maybe in the end, like the very top row, maybe I decreased more than I should have, and it's a bit bigger than the white one, but still it's very cute, and this is one of my favorites. I think the brown looks real good. Maybe the yarn is a bit thicker as well, but it's a very easy pattern that you could give it a try if you were thinking about trying to crochet a chicken. It's pretty easy to follow and super basic, like rounds and single crochet stitches. So looking through my yarn stash, I found this plushy yarn, also from Premier Yarn, and I used 2 strands on this one. This is the furry chicken. I used the same brown chenille yarn from the previous chicken alongside the plushy yarn, which is like a very thin thread, but it gave me this combo of a furry chicken, which is very nice to the touch. Then I found this white with some speckles. It looks like a cookies and cream really yarn. I don't know the exact name of the color, but it's a cream color with some black speckles on it. And look at the difference in the size between both chickens. I did follow the same pattern, however on this white one I used the 8mm hook and a burlap blanket, the frosting collection yarn on this one, and there's about 1 ounce of filling in it, so it's very nice and soft, and it's really good to the touch. Oops, I keep dropping things, sorry. Anyway, I made this big one, and I also got the same brand of yarn, the frosting kind, but in blue and white, and here it is. And this combo of colors, it's by far my favorite. It does remind me of a kids little show from Brazil called Galinha Pintadinha, and I believe you can find it here on YouTube, and it's called Little Dotty Chicken or something similar. It's like this little blue chicken with some white polka dots, and I really love the color and the feel of this yarn. It worked up pretty quick. It probably took me 30 minutes to make that chicken, 35 minutes, with an also 8mm hook. And I do have these bigger chickens, the white and the blue, for sale in my shop, for those of you who might be interested in it and don't crochet just yet. And our second pattern is the Leggy Frog. It is the first Leggy Frog that I've created. I also used a Premier Chenille yarn for this, including the face. However, I'm not very happy about the face because chenille tends to come off undone, like as you mess with it too much. You know, if you're too rough on it, it will start peeling off. And I plan on like changing this face to a acrylic yarn. I think it will look much better. This is from a YouTube video by Anita Louise Crochet. It's a Leggy Frog crochet video. I'm gonna link this in the description as well. It's a very easy pattern to make. Probably took me 15 minutes to make this one. This one looks tiny because, once again, it's the chenille yarn. I believe I probably use a 4.5mm hook. I don't remember. It's been like a month since I did this one. Then I got a burn-up blanket that I had in hand, which happened to be a yellow one. And I tried that once again. So they give me a bigger plush. And I'm happy with the size. I also used the chenille yarn for embroidering the face, but I also plan on replacing that for acrylic yarn. Then I finally got myself a grain, bulky yarn to try the most famous color for the Leggy Frog, and I am very happy with how this turned out. I embroidered the face with the acrylic yarn. And this is a Michael's loops and thread yarn, actually in this mint green color, which is one of my favorites. And I really like the texture of this yarn. It might be a bit tricky to get started working on it, like creating a magic ring or a slip knot method, but it's very soft to touch and it's nice and squishy and fluffy. I'm pretty pleased. And then I made a second one, and I'm pretty pleased with how similar they look. I'm trying to do make sure they look alike, you know. And I do have these two for sale on my Etsy shop as well. Now here's the mini octopus. This is not the first one I created, but I follow this pattern by Passionate Crafter. She has this pattern pinned on her Instagram page, so you can go there and check it out. This is one of the many octopuses I made. This one is a chenille yarn, but look here how many I've made, mostly with chenille yarn. This one here, this top part of his head, is actually a leftover thread I had from a Snuggles. I can't remember the exact name, but it's a Michael's yarn. I used it for a blanket a few years ago, so I had this leftover and I used that for the hat, so it turned like into a very big hat, but it's really cute. After I created those, I found this yarn. It's a big twist yarn. It's a bulky size 6 yarn, but it's not very thick, so the octopus is a little bit smaller than the one I created with chenille, but this texture, oh my goodness, it's the softest thing ever. It's very, very nice to the touch. I think it's a nice little toy for even for little kids. I did embroidery their eyes instead of using safety eyes. I still, even though I have a bunch of safety eyes I've bought, I still haven't like handed any toy with safety eyes to my kids to play with. And I try to make the face of the most recent plushes I made instead of using the safety eye. But this is very cute pattern. It's easy. The tentacles take a little bit of time, but the whole thing will probably take 30 to 40 minutes. And here's a comparison of the one I made with chenille yarn and the one I made with this big twist soft yarn as well. It's a tiny smaller, but I do feel like the yarn is a lot softer, even though chenille is a soft yarn too. So I do have these for sale as well. And the last pattern I try is the mini stingrays. This was actually one of the first patterns I found on Instagram that I decided to take on and create. And look how cute it is. I have watched a YouTube video from another crocheter in which she was challenging herself to see how many stingrays she could make with a ball of yarn. That's MellyInspiredCrochet. That's the name of her page. And I think she was able to get 15 out of that skein. So after I watched her video, I went to find the pattern on Instagram. And I did find it, and I did make it, and I did love it. This pattern is by Chedu Cotton. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It is a quick pattern. It takes about 15 minutes. At least that's what it took me. Usually, like the very first time we try a pattern, it takes a little bit longer. And with time, and if you're batch making things, you can get that time even shorter. And I couldn't stop on making just one with the blue burlap blanket yarn and the white at the bottom, that I made a couple more in different colors, and I'm gonna show you then in a second. I made a pink one, this one using a loops and thread yarn, and I also made a mint green one, same yarn from loops and threads from Michaels. They turned just a tiny bit smaller than the burn-up blanket, but still super cute. Thank you for watching Pattern Talk. If you're interested in any of these items, don't forget to check my Etsy shop. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment. I appreciate you being here. Have a good one.